When you think about why wars start, your mind probably jumps to the big stuff, right? Territory, resources, ideology. But what if I told you that the weirdest, most absurd reasons for war are the ones that actually teach us the most about ourselves? We're going to dive into this because it's when something totally ordinary becomes the excuse for something extraordinary that you really start to see what's going on under the surface. Okay, get this. A single pig wandering into someone's garden almost kicked off a full-blown war between two global superpowers, the United States and Great Britain. Seriously. Or how about a wooden bucket? Just a plain old bucket stolen from a well that sparked a battle between Italian city-states and left hundreds of people dead. And maybe the most bizarre of all, a modern army in the 20th century officially declared war on its country's own population of emus. And this is the best part, the emus won. A pig, a bucket, an army of birds. I mean, it sounds completely ridiculous, doesn't it? Like something out of a comedy sketch, not a history book. But here's the thing. While the triggers are absurd, the stories behind them are deadly serious. And they show us a pattern that is, frankly, shockingly relevant to our world today. So this is the most important idea we have to get our heads around. You've got to separate the spark from the fuel. That bizarre, funny little incident, that's not the real reason for the war. It's just the tiny spark that lands on a massive pile of political tinder that's been sitting there, just waiting for a reason to go up in flames. Take the Pastry War of 1838. It's a perfect example. The spark? A French pastry chef in Mexico says his shop got looted. Sounds pretty minor, right? But the fuel? Well, France was just looking for an excuse to send warships, blockade ports, and force Mexico to pay back huge debts. It was never, ever about the pastries. Historians have this great way of putting it. The funny story, the weird trigger, that's just the tip of the iceberg. What really matters is the enormous, invisible mass of ice underneath the water. All the economic tension, the political rivalries, the border disputes, that's the stuff that actually does the damage. And believe me, this isn't a fluke. This pattern shows up again and again throughout history. In 1325, a bucket becomes a symbol for a deep political rivalry. In 1859, a pig is the flashpoint for a tense border argument. And in 1969, a soccer match is the final straw after years of tension over migration and land. It's the same exact pattern, just in different centuries. So this all raises a really critical question. What is it about us, about human psychology, that lets a silly little incident spiral into a massive crisis? Why are we so easily drawn into this? Well, there's this concept in political science called the diversionary theory of war. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Let's say you're a leader and things aren't going so well at home. The economy's bad, people are unhappy. What's a really easy way to make everyone forget their problems and rally around you? You pick a fight with someone else. A small incident becomes the perfect excuse. And that works because symbols are just unbelievably potent. I mean, it's not actually about the bucket, right? It's about honor. Letting some other city-state steal your stuff and get away with it, that makes you look weak. Plus, having an outside enemy is the fastest way to create group identity. All of a sudden, our little squabbles don't matter because we have a common enemy to focus on. It's the ultimate us versus them, and it lets leaders turn that enemy into a scapegoat for everything. Okay, so look at this number. 38 minutes. What in the world could that possibly mean when we're talking about war? That's how long the entire Anglo-Zanzibar War lasted. It's the shortest war in recorded history. Basically, a new sultan took power in Zanzibar who wasn't exactly pro-British, so the Royal Navy just sailed in, shelled the palace for a bit, and that was it. War over. It wasn't about conquering anything, it was what you might call performative. It was a violent 38-minute show of force designed to send a very simple message. Do not mess with the British Empire. Now, it's really easy to look back at these old stories and just laugh, but the scary part is, the fundamental mechanics behind them are just as active today as they were in the 1300s. The stage has just changed a little bit. The path from a small incident to a huge crisis is basically timeless. First, you get a symbolic incident. That incident triggers our sense of group identity, our nation, our team, our tribe. But here's the modern twist. It then gets amplified by the media. Back then, it was pamphlets. Today, it's a social media post that goes viral in seconds. That creates this huge political pressure for leaders to do something, and before you know it, that tiny spark is a full-on forest fire. And you can draw these direct lines from the past to right now. The cod wars between the UK and Iceland over fishing rights, those were basically low-level fights over resources. Today, we see that same tension playing out in things like trade wars and cyber attacks. The football war was kicked off by national pride, but was really about migration and inequality. Today, a single viral video can cause an international incident rooted in those exact same social pressures. The pattern is the same.
So, after all these strange stories, what's the big takeaway? It's really simple, but it is absolutely critical. We have to train ourselves to look past the absurd, eye-catching headline to see what's actually driving the conflict.
Let's just go back to that pig one last time. The myth, the simple story, is that two of the most powerful nations on Earth almost went to war because of a pig. But the reality? The pig was just a convenient excuse. The real conflict was about a border that a treaty had left vague, competing land claims from settlers, and the national pride of two growing empires. The pig just gave them a handy reason to point their guns at each other.
And this is why this all matters so much. The real danger then and now is getting so focused on the symptom, the pig, the bucket, the viral incident, that we completely ignore the underlying disease. Because if you don't address the actual causes, the border disputes, the economic tensions, the social friction, well then another spark, another incident is always just waiting to happen. Which leaves us with one last question to think about. The conflicts of the past were fought over things that seem completely ridiculous to us now. So, what are the seemingly trivial symbols we're fighting over today? What is our Oaken Bucket? What is the stray pig of our time that might be distracting all of us from the real, deeper problems we should actually be trying to solve?